There's only like two working film brats today. Like if we're talking about, and that's like Spielberg and
Wait, what are the film brats? Like, do you want to explain that?
Yeah. I'm just going into it. I'm just gonna say the main five film brats. There's some other guys in there. I would say from like the USC, NYU, 60s film school brats. You got Spielberg, Coppola, Scorsese, De Palma, and then you got George Lucas in there. Those are like the main five ones from what like really my knowledge. You got other guys in there like Peter Bogdanovich. You got like Hal Ashby and like Bob Rafelson, Robert Altman.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those other three, besides Bogdanovich, those guys, like all those guys, are new Hollywood directors, definitely. But when we talk about film brats, like the known ones, Scorsese, Spielberg, Coppola, De Palma, and George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got to put Paul Schrader in there too. I think Paul Schrader is also kind of fits in there as well.
He fits in there for sure, but I always just categorize him more as a writer, just in my mind.
Yeah. You think of him as a writer. He's doing more nowadays than a lot of those other guys.
That's true. He is.
He's like actually like putting out some good ass shit nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like
First Reform, Card Counter.
Yeah, Card Counter, dude. Like he's actually like doing some shit as an old ass dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing is, but Scorsese and Spielberg are the ones that are still like putting out dope ass shit. Like they're like after that, and now we get Coppola who's finally making another movie that's like a big ass movie that people are that's probably gonna hit into the mainstream. People are gonna talk about it in the next year or so. And then you got De Palma, who's like sadly just like fallen off completely, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of earn that when you get to a certain age. There's only a few people like directing's fucking hard, dude. Make a movie, it's hard. It takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
When you're at an old age, I can just totally understand letting your art speak for yourself and just taking a step back. You earned it,
Yeah.
That's kind of what George Lucas does too. I mean, like probably one of the most well-known IP in the world, and he's just like on a ranch, fucking chilling, in NorCal. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So we decided that we were gonna rank based on our own opinions, subjectively, how we would rate the film brats personally, right?
Personally, yeah. Our own
ranking of the film brats. But
who would you put last in the film brats, just for you personally?
Oh, George Lucas.
Yeah, me too. And that's not to say that he's bad. I really like what's the third Star Wars movie that he made? I mean, I like a lot of the Star Wars movies, but specifically in the prequel trilogy, the third one he directed, I thought was like really well done. And he's kind of like hitting his stride. I think Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, kind of
yeah, dude,
really don't hold up.
And I'm also like with the film brats, when I'm like speaking in like a specific era of the 70s, like the golden era, the new wave era, and then probably like a little bit of their work afterwards too, like 80s, 90s.
Oh, you want to keep it there?
Well, yeah, I just want to get that preface. Like that's what I'm kind of like. I'm just basing it on personal taste too, and also like when we get more into the list, I can explain things more. I think of like why I have. But yeah, I had George Lucas as last. Yeah, like he did Star Wars. He like changed the game, everything. I'm not a super big fan of Star Wars. They don't blow me away. Not even like the originals. Like I said before, The Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And like I give him credit for all the Star Wars stuff, and it's huge. But like I'm not like the biggest George Lucas fan, and I don't think he's like done that much artistically in that.
Same. I just feel like Star Wars has never really blown me away. There's definitely nostalgia behind Star Wars if your parents showed it to you, or you're someone that saw it in the 70s back then. I can see like your love for it. Like I can totally see this. But just for us personally, we're not big Star Wars people, and the original ones, well, they were like revolutionary. It's not for me. I'm not a big like sci-fi guy in general. I don't know. I just don't. It's hard. It's hard because these are all like top tier directors, and if I had to choose, I would put Lucas last.
Yeah, I think he's last. Like, I bet I know what your first pick is.
You want to know what my first pick is?
I bet I can guess, dude, because it's probably my first pick.
Yeah, Scorsese.
Yeah. Number one is definitely Scorsese. I mean, what needs to be said about Scorsese, dude, that hasn't already been said? Like, he is kind of the king of the fucking film brats, bro. And like, personally, like my favorite one out of all of those guys.
His stuff holds up so well.
Yeah.
just like thinking about like what he made in the 70s, like it'd be like Taxi Driver, Mean Streets and stuff. Like those movies are so fucking good, dude. And then you
Yeah.
get into like his legacy of what he's able to create. Oh my god, dude. One of my favorite directors of all time, and so deserved, you know. He's just a master at what he does, and he's so much passion for what he does that it's just infectious. Like every movie you see from him, you know that he's going to bring that like style and substance and everything you want in a good movie.
No, his movies are definitely personal, and he's like a master stylist and a master storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
And he just like, they are very personal stories too.
Mm-hmm.
He's like really fleshed out characters. So many classics under his belt. Taxi Driver is probably like one of my favorite movies of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Like Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, Mean Streets, dude.
Yeah.
And then just talking about like his later part of his career too, even though I'm not taking too much of that into account when it comes to this list, but you go to see, when you make some movie, like you go to see it still.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like
Yeah.
I go to see fucking Irishman, I go to see Wolf of Wall Street, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I went to go see Silence when it came out, dude. One of the most influential directors ever and one of the GOATs, for real.
Yeah.
You know?
His legacy is unmatched at
Yeah.
this point.
If we're going to talk about the number 4 pick, I think we're going to have different ones.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is a little controversial, I think. Mine's a
Yeah.
little controversial.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely, I think it's a hot take. But if we're going on personal tastes and stuff, we're going on like things that I would prefer to watch more.
You let loose, dude.
Dude, Steven Spielberg, I have number 4.
Yeah, I could, yeah. For you personally, I guess just give us your reasoning for that.
Yeah, so Steven Spielberg, who I love, just because he's 4th, it doesn't mean like anything. Like he's obviously the highest grossing director of all time. So many classics under his belt. Changed the game with George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing is that he changed the game because he's an innovator, but also he changed the game and there were some consequences to the whole fucking all of cinema because of him and George Lucas. So they kind of like, in a way, like fuck things up, like unintentionally. Because I do believe like they're like, oh, I want to make something good. I want to make movies that are really fun and good, and like Jaws, you know, Star Wars, like they were like the first real blockbuster, and that was like kind of a shift that happened. I love a lot of his movies. I think he's a little corny.
Yeah, I mean, his movies are intended for a family.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He's a little corny. Besides like The Fabelmans, that was a very personal story. Obviously, it's about him. There are definitely a lot of emotion in them, but I don't like feel like his characterizations or his characters are like really that in depth compared to like some other. But I just, the stories he tells, it's very like the grand Hollywood scale. It's not super style. It's invisible. He's a very good invisible filmmaker,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like effortless, like everything is serving the story and stuff. But there isn't like too much of like an authorship to his movies, like stylistically. And like I said, I'm a very like stylistic auteur type guy. And like Spielberg, like he's an auteur. Like there's a certain flavor, but it's still like very mainstream and like obviously he has like crazy technical skills.
His craft is amazing. It speaks for itself. You know what he's able to do in Jaws, just like no one else has been able to do before. Like in Indiana Jones, this is like practical stuff he's able to pull off as a director. He just seems so competent, and that's something that like carries through. And when you watch his movies, you can just tell that he's great at building a world. And it's not like he's building a world off of like multiple movies. He builds a world within that one movie.
Yeah.
And that's really impressive to me.
I also think that Spielberg is like the most hired hand director out of the film brats. Like he's not going to write his own story, his own screenplay to like direct it. You know, like it's going to be like someone's like based on a book or like something that's like popular or whatever. And then he's like gets hired to like direct it. You know, like he's like a real studio.
Yeah, but
guy.
he has agency in what he chooses. You know, definitely with his reputation, he's definitely, you know, has a role in what he picks to direct.
Yeah.
For me personally, my number 4th is Brian De Palma. And I love Brian De Palma, like Scarface, Carrie. We just watched Obsession, Dressed to Kill is phenomenal. I mean, he's got so many good movies. Just from my taste personally, though, like I'm not a big like horror kind of guy, and he definitely like he like dips his toes in the macabre and like in the darker aspects of film. And I don't know, just having to rate him somewhere, he falls fourth for me.
Yeah. Well, Brian De Palma for me, I have him number 2.
Yeah.
I have Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, 3 is Coppola,
Mm-hmm.
and then 4 is Spielberg, and then 5 is George Lucas.
For me, it's Scorsese, Coppola, Spielberg,
Yeah.
De Palma, Lucas.
Yeah. Like I said, I got De Palma at number 2 because, like he's like a master stylist. I love his filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a very personal take of mine.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think he's so underrated and gets like overshadowed by these other like figures. You know what I'm saying? But I really think he's very inspirational. Everything is so tight, the way it's shot, like his overall aesthetic, and then his stories that he tells, they're just like hypnotic. It was so like good. And I just like love his movies, like Blowout, Dressed to Kill.
Yeah.
Fucking
Oh,
amazing.
Blowout. Oh my god, dude.
Blowout's amazing.
Yeah, his movies do look, I think aside from Scorsese, look like the most stylized. And they look really pretty.
Yeah, they look like great, dude. And his editing, it's cool. And it's not like you said, it's not all style over substance. Like he has like a cool narrative in there that he tells a story in a really cool way. And like he's got the Hitchcockian vibe. Like if Hitchcockian is a genre,
Mm-hmm.
then like he's like the leader of the fucking Hitchcockian genre, like the modernist Hitchcockian.
Let's talk about Coppola then.
Yeah, so I got Coppola 3.
Yeah, I have him second.
Yeah. Coppola 70s is his decade, dude.
Dude, probably in that time.
There's no one like as accomplished as a filmmaker than Francis Ford Coppola in like the 70s.
Yeah, I feel like if you just like that moment in time, 70s, that decade, and you rated all these people, Coppola would probably be number 1 for like everyone. Because just what he was able to pull off in that time, like that success of movies he was able to direct has never been accomplished since, I feel.
Yeah.
Godfather Part 2, Conversation, Apocalypse Now, like, oh my god, all those movies are so fucking good.
We just need to talk about those 4 movies only. That's like we don't really need to say anything like really else. Like like Rumblefish is good.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, like I didn't hate it though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I could still see like the charm to it and the substance.
No, but it doesn't really like hold a candle to like The Godfathers and The Conversation, Apocalypse Now. Like you just need to see those 4 to understand. Super like inspirational as a filmmaker to me. Just to like get it done, like sacrifice everything. Like you got to put all of your, just put it all in. He's an artist, storyteller. He's number 3 for me.
Yeah.
But, I put him above Spielberg, dude.
Yeah.
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 That says like there's like a reason for that, and it's just because of those 70s movies.
I also put him above Spielberg. Yeah. Yeah, Spielberg third. Spielberg, what he's able to do, and like Indiana Jones, just like from my childhood, I love those movies. And Jaws, and feels so wholesome, nostalgic, but crafted very, very well. Just for me personally, though, Coppola just hits. He hits, dude. Yeah. And The Godfather, I remember watching that for the first time and just being like absolutely blown away, because kind of have this perception of everyone's telling you this is the greatest movie of all time, and you watch it and you're actually blown away by it. Everyone was right. Go figures,
Yeah. So you have him number 2 or number 3?
Coppola?
Yeah.
I have him number 2.
Yeah, I can see that, dude. I can see that. I can't say Coppola's better than Scorsese. Like I can't say anyone is better than Scorsese, like of that generation, dude.
No. Oh man, I want to watch Raging Bull again. It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
He just slaps. And then just like learning about the history of Scorsese too, just like what he went through in his life, and just his perseverance of making movies and wanting to craft these stories and just pulling it off. It's just like such an inspirational story, and he really, really hits with every movie he makes, even ones that people don't like. Like I find the like art in it.
Yeah. I will say like Scorsese and Spielberg are the ones who are like really like super legendary still today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give it to them that. Like that's definitely the edge. But I think Scorsese has that longevity and the artistic stuff like going compared. Like I don't think Spielberg is as artistic as Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, Spielberg has kind of misses sometimes. He has had in his career.
Yeah.
AI or something like that.
Yeah, they're not going to be as like risk taking.
But there's a reason that all directors today attribute their inspiration to Scorsese.